What's going on, NFL world? This is your boy Niner Game Podcast back with another video. So definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the post notifications so I can keep you up to date on any and everything NFL. So let's talk about it, man. Week 14 did happen. Um, Definitely so. And we're here to talk about it, man. We're here to talk about every single thing that happened in week 14, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. So let's get right on to it and take a look at what went on last week of the NFL. So we started on Thursday night. We had ourselves a nice little barn burner between the Cowboys and the Lions. So Lions are at home in Detroit, and the Cowboys travel there, take the L 30-14. Both teams scored in every single quarter. Simply put, Lions just scored more. When you come and you take a look at the numbers, Dak Prescott 31 of 47, 376 yards, one TD, and two interceptions. Is definitely not a good game for a quarterback. And then you come in, you take a look at Jared Goff, 25 of 34, 309 yards, one TD, no interceptions. He was only sacked once. Dak threw two interceptions and was sacked 5 times. So what that tells me is they got a problem on that offensive line because there should be no way that Dak Prescott should be getting sacked that many times. Javonte Williams, 17 carries, 67 yards, one TD. And then when you come over to Detroit, most of their touchdowns came from running the ball. David Montgomery, 6 carries, 60 yards, one TD. Man had explosive play at 35 yards. So if you take that away, you know what I'm saying, that brings it down to what, 5 for 25, still 5 yards carry. So, hey, man, you can't be mad at that. Jahmyr Gibbs, he only had 12 carries for 43 yards, but the man scored 3 times. And this is what I tell people when you have to understand that scoring a touchdown means more than having gaudy stats. So you could have all the yards that you want. If you don't score, what significance is that? So when it comes down to it, that's what mattered. The only TD pass was caught by Isaac Tesla. I think he's one of their tight ends. You know what I'm saying? Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 catches, 92 yards. Jameson Williams, 7 catches, 96 yards. Not bad for them. CD Lamb and Ryan Flournoy, both over 100 yards receiving. Flournoy caught the only touchdown pass thrown by Dak. George Pickens, 5 for 37. You know, not too bad, not too crazy of a day, but definitely a big step back from what his production has been. And then here goes some more issues. We got fumbles by the Cowboys. So that definitely didn't help. So you get sacked 5 times, you throw 2 interceptions, there's fumbles on all, like this is all just, you know, it sums everything up. It tells you everything that happened. The lone sack that came from the Cowboys was by James Houston, and then the sacks for the Detroit Lions were from Jack Campbell. He had 1. Al-Qadim Muhammad had 3, and Alim McNeil had 1. So that accounts for all 5 of your sacks. They had 11 passes defense, and they had 6 TFLs. So that's definitely great. And then you flip over to the Cowboys, 1 pass defense and 4 TFLs. You come and take a look at it. Of course, Derek Barnes and DJ Reed had the interceptions. And then when you look at the kicking, of course, hey, Brandon Aubrey, 100%, 5-5, 1-on-1 on his extra points. Jake Bates, not 100%. He was 3 or 4. And he missed the field goal, so it just would have made it a 17-point win versus a 14-point win. So that kick that he missed didn't necessarily matter. But, hey, man, Cowboys take another L. They are right back at 500 at 6-6. And on the outside looking in for the playoff picture, Detroit keeps pace in their division respectively because they are going to face, they got their divisional opponents. You got the Bears leading the NFC North right now. Of course, the Vikings are the bottom of the barrel. And then you got the Packers in there. So they've got work to continue to do. Seahawks come in and give a beat down to the Atlanta Falcons right there, just knocking them out, 37-9. Falcons scored in every quarter except for the third, but they were only kicking field goals. They were never able to actually get into the end zone. This was a unfortunate loss in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. out there in the ATL. Sam Darnold, 20 to 30, 249 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. And then Kirk Cousins, 15 to 30, 162 yards, and 2 interceptions. So it tells you everything you need to know. I still am baffled to this day why they paid Kirk Cousins all that money and then drafted Michael Penix Jr. It just do no more. 286 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. Zach Charbonnet, 7 for 46. Velus Jones Jr., 4 for 32. Kenneth Walker, 10 for 29. And then you come in, you take a look at it. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 7 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is normal for him. This is what we expect, unlike last week, which was horrible. Cooper Kupp, 2 catches, 35 yards, and a touchdown. I'm glad to see that they actually started targeting the guy. They act like he doesn't exist now that they got Rashid Shaheed in there. Kyle Pitts Sr., 6 catches, 90 yards. And then after that, it just drops off. It's just very unfortunate. The Falcons just couldn't muster up any kind of offense in general in this game. That's basically what it looks like. And then you even had a few fumbles. Drew Lock fumbled. JSN fumbled, but he recovered it. So you just take a look at it. And so you take a look. The only lone sack was from Keeman Worry. Then you got 2 sacks by the Falcons, and those came from a name I have not heard in years. And we only know this name because he was a former 49er. Kentavious Street gets a sack. I haven't heard that name in a while. I think after he left us, he went to the Saints, and then he went a couple other places. But all right, Kentavious Street with a sack. James Pierce with a sack. Mike Hughes had the interception, and then for Seattle, Devin Witherspoon and Nicky Manwari had those 2 interceptions that Kirk Cousins threw. You take a look at the kicking. Zane Gonzalez, he was 3 out of 4 on his kicks, and I mean you can't really do much. Dude is basically your only way of scoring. If he would have kicked another field goal, it just makes it a little bit less of a blow. But this is still a beatdown no matter what. Jason Myers was 100%. Hey man, Seahawks keep rolling. They try to keep pace with the Rams. With that NFC lead there in the NFC West, and then trying to jump into the top spot as far as playoffs go. But moving right on along here, we got the Bengals and the Bills. This was definitely a barn burner. We were wondering what would happen between old Joe Burrow and Josh Allen there, and Allen got the win. The Buffalo Bills moved to 9-4. The Bengals go to 4-9, closer and closer to being out of the playoffs. The best they can do at this point is 8-9. That's the best they can do, and then hope and pray. There are a bunch of things that go their way to be able to make it a situation where they can do what they need to do and get into the playoffs. But I don't see that happening. So Bengals scored in every quarter except for the third. Josh Allen, 22 of 28, 251 yards, 3 TDs, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, but that's not bad. And then you got Joe Burrow, 4 TDs, 2 interceptions, 284 yards passing. The run game for Cincinnati was non-existent to an extent. 6 carries, 31 yards, 5.2 yards for Samaje Perine, 12 carries, 23 yards for Chase Brown. So might as well just up the Perine. He was the one winning. Chase Brown had the long touchdown, but he definitely wouldn't do anything running the ball. James Cook, 18 carries, 80 yards, 4.4 yards a carry. Josh Allen, 9 for 78 with 78 yards and 1 touchdown. We come and take a look at the receiving. Most of the usual suspects for the most part. You got T. Higgins, 6 catches, 92 yards, 2 TDs. Mike Gesicki, 6 for 86 with 1. Jamar Chase, 5 for 44. And the other touchdown was caught by you take a look. Knox led the way with 6 catches for 93 yards. Dalton Kincaid, Khalil Shakir, and Jackson Hawes were the ones who caught the 3 touchdown passes. 2 fumbles by James Cook. 1 was lost, but 1 was recovered. Then you take a look at the sacks. Geno Stone, TJ Slayton Jr., and BJ Hill all gave 3 sacks. I am not seeing Trey Hendrickson anywhere. And I'm thinking he's hurt, but this don't bode well for him to be able to try to go out next year and go get some money. Season doesn't look real good. Christian Benford was only sacked from Buffalo. Then you take a look at the kicking, 100% for Matt Prater and 100% for Evan McPherson. But it just is what it is. Buffalo gets the win. This was a very close game. It was one of those snowball games. You kept seeing them coming in. Thing that they have to do. But yeah, great game between the Bills and the Bengals. Keeps the Bills playoffs hopes alive and continually shuts down the Bengals playoff hopes. Now, this game, I did watch the full game, and this was fantastic because this was Shedeur versus Cam. And technically speaking, these were supposed to be like the top 2 QBs in the draft this year. Although Shedeur obviously fell to the 5th round, where the Browns finally picked him up, and Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick. This was definitely a pretty good game. Tennessee didn't score in the second, and Cleveland didn't score in the third, but came down to the wire here. And there were several instances in this game that were bad, but we'll talk the numbers and then we'll talk about those things. So Cam Ward, 14 to 28, 117 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception, and he was sacked once. He was supposed to be sacked twice, but good Lord, that dude is slippery, man. He fought Denzel Ward to the death to be able to stay up and throw that ball away rather than get a sack. Denzel Ward was all over him. He just slipped up out of there and got away. But Shedeur Sanders, his best game to date, 23 of 42, 364 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. He was sacked twice. He had 3 carries for 29 yards and a touchdown. So the man amassed 4 touchdowns on his own. Beautiful. Several great plays in the game as well. Very, very, very nice chunk plays. Awesome things. Judkins didn't really do much. They could not get that run game really going. 14 carries, 26 yards. Not going to cut it. And then you look at the Tennessee Titans. Tony Pollard, 25 carries, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He did run wild. Tyjae Spears, 8 carries, 19 yards. He didn't really do much. 2 catches, 28 yards in the passing game. The 2 TDs were caught by Chimere DK and then Alec Manor. I don't know. They've got a lot of guys, it looks like, with African heritage just based off of the last names. Beautiful thing tells you that, they travel well. And then when it comes to the receiving, Harold Fannin Jr., 8 catches, 114 yards, 1 TD. Jerry Jeudy, 3 for 76, 1 TD. And then you had David Njoku. He had 1 catch for 1 yard, and that went and it amounted to a touchdown. That's all that matters. We've seen a little bit of a step back from David Njoku and a move forward for Harold Fannin. It's not to say that Njoku is not a formidable talent. I just don't know that Stefanski seems to know if he can use 2 tight end sets. Because I would be killing people with Fannin and Njoku. Are you serious? He couldn't get me off the field. And then that opens up run lanes for Quinshon Judkins, just as, having both of those guys out there. You have 2 great blocking tight ends, 2 great receiving tight ends. You don't know which one is going to do, so it's fantastic. Then you come down and take a look at it. Of course, Dylan Sampson had a fumble. Lavardian had a fumble, but he recovered his. You take a look at the sacks. There was only 1 sack, and that was by Myles Garrett. So I think that pushes him to 20. So he only needs 3, and he'll break the record. Hopefully he'll get those in the next few games. Jeffrey Simmons had 1.5 sacks, and then Jalen Harrell combined for the other half of that sack. We come and you take a look at interceptions. Devin Bush had 1. Xavier Woods had 1. And you come and take a look at the kicking. Andre Schmeitz, 100%. Joey Sly, 100% as well. This came down to some pretty interesting calls. So I'll share the screen again in just a second. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, Steve-O, you're saying that Henderson's going on IR? Because if he is, I mean, it's good for him because he'll be able to be rested, be fully healthy by the time he has to take a physical and whatnot. But what I'm saying is for this game with the Browns and the Titans, there were 2 questionable calls. First of all, you go for a 2-point conversion when you didn't need to early in the game, Kevin Stefanski, and you're not making any sense. You could have just kicked the field goal. And then in this instance, at the end of the game, he takes Shedeur Sanders out for the 2-point conversion and tries to run a wildcat with Quinshon Judkins. Here's the problem. Everyone knows what you're going to do. If there's no Shador on the field, they know you're running a wildcat. So they know they've got to clog up the gut, make sure the edges are secure, and at the same time, they don't have to really worry about somebody passing the ball. So Judkins did it, but the play was basically designed for Judkins to take the snap, roll out to the right, and pitch it on an end around and let the receiver take it around and go get the 2 points. That did not work out at all. Tennessee knew what was happening. They blew that play up from the jump, and Judkins winds up just chucking the ball somewhere in somebody's direction, and it winds up getting knocked down. So that to me tells me straight up that it's a situation where I don't know what Stefanski is doing. I don't know why he does the things that he does, but it's not making sense. You have 2 times where you wanted for a 2-point conversion where all you needed to do was simply kick the field goal. At a bare minimum, if you kick both of those field goals, that's 2 points that brings you into OT. That gives Shador a chance to go out there and try to win the game. Now, mind you, what I did see from Shador was fantastic work. The interception, unfortunately, was solely his fault. And the reason I state that is because he tried to go downfield when he had a check down right in front of him. And that check down had a nice amount of space. That would have been a first down had he not tried to go downfield with that ball. It was a bad decision, but he is a rookie. So you got to kind of understand that, and you already know what it is. So either way, Shador Sanders has been named the starter for the rest of the year. They are not playing Deshaun Watson or Dylan Gabriel outside of, God forbid, an injury coming to Shador. But at the end of the day, hey, man, that's what happens. Your coach makes stupid decisions. You win stupid prizes. So definitely unfortunate that happened. But, great game from Shador. Best game of his career to date. And it looks like it's going, looks like he's trending in the right direction. I would say for the Browns, with those 2 first-round picks, if you're smart, don't go out there trying to draft a quarterback. With those 2 first-round picks, get yourself some offensive linemen. And then in your next pick should be a wide receiver. Somebody you feel can be at least a number 1 or a great number 2. Because you've got tight end locked down, you've got running back locked down, you've got quarterback locked down. And then the rest of your draft, you're going to need defense because obviously the Browns DBs are not as good as we thought they were. But the next game up on the slate, we have the Commanders and the Vikings. Vikings come and take this one 31-0, just beating down on the Commanders. Jaden Daniels, 9 of 20, 78 yards, no TDs, and an interception. I think they should shut Jaden Daniels down for the rest of the year, man. They're not making the playoffs, and they know they're not, so there's nothing that they can really do. Pretty sure they've basically been eliminated with this. J.J. McCarthy, 16 of 23, 163, and 3 touchdowns. He was sacked 4 times, though. Chris Rodriguez Jr., 10 for 52. Krosky Merritt had 7 for 32 in the rushing game. So, you come and take a look at the running games. Everybody did their thing. Aaron Jones did his thing, 14 carries, 76 yards. Jordan Mason, 11 for 52, and he had 1 TD. So, Minnesota just seemed to be, firing on all cylinders, and that bodes well for J.J. McCarthy because he's been looking bad. I mean, these numbers as far as the, 16 to 23 for 163 yards, the yardage is extremely pedestrian. But, hey, you got 3 touchdowns out of it. So, like I said before, sometimes gaudy numbers don't mean anything if you don't have the touchdowns to go with them. And the touchdowns are nice, and you don't really need gaudy numbers. I mean, hell, if somebody gave me under 200 yards, but they threw me 3 touchdowns every game, I'm not complaining. So when you come and take a look at it, the 2 sacks were from Jalen Redmond and Eric Wilson. And then for the Washington Commanders, you have Bobby Wagner, Von Miller, Will Harris, and Deron Payne all had sacks. Interception was from Andrew Van Ginkel and Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, old ass, still out there snagging the ball. Kicking from Washington didn't do anything because they just didn't score at all. They got donutted. This was a beat down of sorts. Will Riker was 100% on his kicking, but that just tells you there's definitely some problems over there in Washington, and they got to get that stuff fixed because the Vikings are not really that good of a team. J.J. McCarthy has not looked good all year, and for you to let them to go into their house and just get beat down like that, I mean, improvement for J.J., but bad for the Commanders. Then you got the Dolphins and the Jets. AFC East battle here. Dolphins are on the outside looking in for the playoffs, but they are 6-7, so they do have a small fighting chance. I wouldn't say there's anything great about it, but it'd be all right. Another pedestrian numbers, man, 13 to 21 for 127 yards and 1 touchdown from Tua Tagovailoa and 1 sack. Yeesh, that was bad. But this is where all the money comes in. There was that running game. Jalen Wright, 24 for 107 with a TD. Devon Achane, 7 for 92 with a TD. And then you had, looks like Ollie Gordon the second. He had 5 for 17 with a touchdown. So, the run game. That run game showed up, man. Mike McDaniel was dialing it up with the run game. Got 3 TDs out of them. That's where you make your money. Miami scored in every quarter except for the third, and the Jets only scored in the first and the fourth. And then they had 2 quarterbacks in here, Tyrod Taylor and Brady Cook, who combined for 3 interceptions and 6 sacks. Good Lord. Just a disaster. Like, you got it. I don't know what the Jets are doing, but they're going to live in the top of the first round, man, if they don't figure this stuff out. Breece Hall, 14 carries, 43 yards. That's horrible numbers. All these receivers are nobodies. Just look at this. This is just bad, man. Like, the Jets are a dumpster fire, and I feel bad for Jets fans, man. The last time y'all had hope was when Mark Sanchez was your quarterback, and that's saying a lot because a lot of people don't really like Mark Sanchez. But at the end of the day, he was the most relevant quarterback in Jets history. You know why? Because he took you out of 2 AFC championship games. I don't care if he was riding the back of the defense. There are definitely some touchdowns that he had to throw, some things he had to do throughout the season to help y'all. So at the end of the day, quarterback does get love, just like, old Jimmy Garoppolo gets love, for winning games when half the time he barely did much of anything. Same thing for Mark Sanchez. Nick Folk, 100% on his kicks, but didn't mean anything. Same thing with Riley Patterson, 100%. Jets got to get it together, man. They got to figure out what they're doing because that franchise is horrible. And then you come down and you look at the Saints and the Bucks, another divisional battle. It's the NFC South. And the Saints get the dub, man. This is what's hard about divisional games. Tampa Bay is now 7-6. I do believe they're still leading the NFC South, but I mean that's not a big gap because I believe the Panthers are on their what. So in this game, New Orleans scored in every quarter except for the second, and Tampa Bay scored in every quarter. It just didn't score enough. It was only a 4-point loss, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. I mean that big of a win for the Saints, but it's a win nonetheless. They go to 3-10. Saints the Bucks move to 7-6. 13-20, 144 years. These pedestrian quarterback numbers are killing me. 1 interception, 1 TD, 1 interception. Like, what are we doing? And then you see why the Saints won because they ran the ball. Tyler Show, 7 for 55, 2 TDs. Devin Neal, 19 for 70, 1 TD. I do not see any Alvin Kamara. I don't know, man. Dude ain't been the same since he started catching all the charges. But you flip over to the Bucks, Bucky Irving, 15 carries, 55 yards. Rachaad White, 11 for 53. Chris Godwin, 5 for 55. Only touchdown catch was from Bucky Irving. And then you come over here, you take a look at the receiving. Once again, no TDs thrown. Couple fumbles by each team. Then you come in, you take a look at the sacks. Vita Vea still out there getting sacks. That's insane. Greg Gaines and Chris Barswell for the Bucks. And then you come up, you take a look at the Saints. They had no sacks. You come take a look at the kicking. Chase McLaughlin, he was 100%. Charlie Smythe, he missed his kick, but it only would have made it a 1-point loss. It wouldn't have been much. But, hey, hard for the Bucks because they got to keep pace with the Panthers and make sure they don't wind up losing any ground. But they'll be all right. This game kind of sucked because there's a lot going on here when you take a look at it. Colts versus Jags. Colts scored in every quarter. Jags scored in every quarter except for the third. They just scored more than the Colts, and that was that, 36-19. That was definitely the win there. Riley Leonard came in 18-29, 145 yards and an interception. Daniel Jones, he went down in this game, 5-7, and he only threw an interception. And then you got, you flip to the other side, Trevor Lawrence, 17-30, 2 touchdowns. And then they put Nick Mullins in garbage time. He had 1 pass for 3 yards. Jonathan Taylor, 21 carries, 74 yards, 1 TD. Riley Leonard, 2 carries, 5 yards, and a touchdown. So that's basically where they made their money, was in the run game. Same thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Etienne, 20 carries, 74 yards, 2 TDs. You got Brian Thomas Jr., 3 for 87. Tim Patrick, 5 for 78 with a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 4 for 39 with a touchdown. A couple of fumbles here. Bashal Tutin, he fumbled twice. He lost one. And then you got a couple of recoveries from Jerrion Jones and B.J. Green. Those are the ones from Jonathan Taylor, Jermaine Pratt. And then you take a look at it. Only sack was from Josh Allen. And then you've got 9 passes defense, 4 TFLs. 4 TFLs for the Colts. 8 passes defense, no sacks. And Devin Lloyd, Greg Newsome II, both had those interceptions that were thrown by each quarterback. And Blake Grupe was 100%. Cam Little was 100%. And in this game, the reason that I state this is because the reason I state that there's some controversy to this game is simply put, what kills me about this is the Colts have that little of faith in Anthony Richardson. They do not like him that much. They about to go get Phillip Rivers' old self off the couch. They feel their season slipping away. And instead of them going to the young rookie who they once put faith in, who they drafted in the first round, they went and got Phillip Rivers off the couch, who ain't played in 4 years. That tells you that Anthony Richardson's career in Indy is over, and there's no reason for him to even be there. They might as well cut that dude and move on with life because they do not care that he exists. This is sad because you were hoping, better for Anthony Richardson, but this dude he couldn't do it. But we're going to move on. Steelers versus the Ravens. That was definitely a nice little barn burner, only a 5-point loss. Pittsburgh scored in every quarter except for the fourth, and Baltimore scored in every quarter except for they scored in every single quarter. They just couldn't score enough. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 34, 284 yards, 1 touchdown. And then you've got Lamar Jackson. He had 19 passes, 219 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Derrick Henry, 25 carries, 94 yards. Lamar had the long rushing touchdown, 7 carries, 43 yards. Kenneth Gainwell, 4 carries, 15 yards, and 1 TD. And then you had DK Metcalf, 7 catches, 148 yards on 12 targets. 3 catches, 49 yards, 1 TD for Jaylen Warren. Then you take a look at it. Isaiah Likely had the only touchdown pass thrown by Lamar Jackson. When you take a look, no sacks by the Ravens, but 2 by the Steelers. 1 from Alex Highsmith, the other from Brandon Echols. And then you take a look at the kicking, 100% for Chris Boswell, and Tyler Luke misses that 1 field goal, 1 extra point, but doesn't really make much of a difference. So only would have brought it down to a 4-point loss instead of a 5-point loss. So the Steelers make a move, keep themselves headed toward the playoffs at 7-6, and Baltimore starts falling, back into the play, in the playoff race. And we'll definitely take a look at that at the end of this. So we got the Raiders and the Broncos. That was another divisional battle, AFC West battle, 24-17. Broncos win. They scored in every quarter. And then the Raiders only scored in the first and in the fourth. And pretty much are only a touchdown away from tying this game up. But, hey, when you don't score in the second and third quarter, that definitely hurts. Bo Nix, 31-38, 212 yards, 5.6 yards to throw. No TDs, no interceptions. 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 from Bo Nix, 1 from R.J. Harvey. You take a look at the Raiders. Geno Smith, 13-21, 116, 1 TD. Kenny Pickett, 8 of 11, 97 yards and a touchdown. Both quarterbacks were sacked a total of 4 times. And then you had Ashton Jeanty, nothing, 10 carries, 30 yards, 3 yards a carry. You take a look at the receiving. Brock Bowers and Shedrick Jackson caught the touchdowns. You take a look at everything for Denver. Good receiving, but nobody caught any TDs. You take a look at it. The Raiders had 3 sacks. They had 1 from Jeremy Chin, and another from Max Crosby, and then another from Tonka Hemingway. And the Broncos, they had their 4 sacks. 2 came from Nick Benito, 1 came from Malcolm Roach, and the other one from Jonathan Franklin Myers. You see Huff up there, second in tackles and whatnot. Man, I miss Huff. But as far as the kicking goes, both teams 100%. Hey, just a divisional battle, and the Raiders wound up taking that out. Denver keeps rolling, and they are moving on up, staying on top of the AFC, fighting with the Patriots for that number one spot. Packers versus the Bears, NFC North battle. The Packers get to win here, only by touchdown, obviously, as you can see. Neither team scored in the first, and then both teams scored every other quarter. Just Packers scored more. Caleb Williams, 19-35, 186 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. He sacked once. Jordan Love, 17-25, 234 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. He was sacked once. Josh Jacobs, 20 carries, 86 yards in the tutty. The running game for the Bears was a little bit more pedestrian. Total of 138, by committee, but Swift and Monangai didn't really do, an overabundance of things. Then you take a look at the receiving. Christian Watson, 4 for 89, 2 tutties. Bo Melton, 1 for 45 with a touchdown. Colston Loveland, their tight end, 1 touchdown, 4 catches on 29 yards. You take a look at it, they had the fumble by Josh Blackwell. The only sack was from Montez Sweat for Green Bay. The sack came from Kingsley. I'm just going to say Kingsley. That's about as good as it's going to get because I don't know how to say the last name. Cairo Santos, 100%. Brandon McManus, 100%. At the end of the day, hey, just one score means a big difference. And the Bears wound up taking that L. They moved to 9-4, and the Packers moved to 9-3-1. I believe that'll put them ahead of them, but it's not a big deal. Here's another beatdown, another divisional battle. Cardinals versus the Rams. Rams come in Arizona and beat the brakes off of the Cardinals. Matthew Stafford went out there and balled, 22-31, 281 yards, 3 TDs, wasn't sacked at all. Blake Corum, 12 carries, 128 yards, 2 TDs. Kyron Williams, 13 carries, 84 yards, 1 touchdown. So that just shows you right there, man. That is literally, 6 touchdowns? Rams offense was humming, and they scored every single quarter. Arizona's offense scored in every quarter except for the third, but they just weren't scoring enough. They couldn't keep up. Jacoby Brissett, 25-44, 271 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. He was sacked 3 times. And then their run game, 51 yards is a total. That's bad. That tells you it's nothing. And Jacoby Brissett leading you in rushing definitely ain't a good thing either. But Puka Nacua, 7 catches, 167 yards, and 2 TDs. Thank you to my fantasy team. And, Kobe Parkinson, 3 for 32, 1 TD. Come over, you take a look at it. Michael Wilson, he balled out too. Appreciate you, Mike. Another dude I had started on fantasy, 11 catches, 142 yards, and 2 TDs. Wilson is a baller. Michael Wilson is a baller. And I think people need to pay attention to him. He's definitely one of the best receivers in the NFC West. The sacks came from Cam Curl, Byron Young, and Kobe Turner for the Rams. And then there was no sacks for the Cardinals. Interception was by Nate Landman. And then Harrison Mevis, he was 100% on his kicks and his extra points. And then Chad Ryland, he missed one of his kicks, but it wouldn't have made a difference. It just would have made it a 25-point loss rather than a 28-point loss. So it is what it is. But hey, Rams go into Arizona, beat the brakes off of the Cardinals, continue to keep their stamp on things in the NFC West, and we'll take a look at the standings here in just a second. This game, it's I feel it coming to fruition, and I want people to understand me. Richardson's on IR. Oh, well, I mean, it don't look like they was going to use him anyway. But when it comes down to it, I think they would have still went and got Phillip Rivers. I think that would have been the plan all along, because they're still fighting and they still have a playoff spot, possibly available. So I get it. But the reason I'm so happy is because it's starting to possibly come to fruition that I may see a playoffs without the Chiefs. They may not make the playoff. This makes me I am so overjoyed, over love, over me. Shout out Stevie Wonder. That's my birthday buddy. But yeah, man, Texans and the Chiefs, I definitely picked the Texans. The Texans defense is just insane. It is unreal what they can do, and they shut down everyone. As you can see, they shut Patrick Mahomes down. They made that man get 10 points. DeMeco Ryans handled Andy Reid. That says a lot. And that's a great thing for the Texans. Hey, they moved to 8-5. Chiefs moved to 6-7, closer to not being in the playoffs. It makes my day. Oh, it makes my day. Pat Mahomes, 14-33, 160 yards, 3 interceptions. Oh, I love hearing those numbers. It's just beautiful. He was sacked twice as well, so 3 interceptions thrown, and he was sacked twice. Love it. C.J. Stroud, 15-31, 203 yards, 1 TD. He was sacked 3 times as well. Woody Marsh, 26 carries, 68 yards. Didn't do much. I'm just going to say Dare or Dare, whatever. We're just going to call him Dio. He scored the only rushing touchdown for the Texans. Nico Collins, 4 catches, 121 yards. And then the rest of them is just all pedestrian numbers. And anybody for the Chiefs, all pedestrian numbers for receiving. Sacks for the Texans came from Tommy Togiai? I don't know. 1 sack. And then you had a half a sack from Sheldon Rankins and Danico Autry. A couple passes defense for them. The 3 sacks for the Chiefs came from George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, and then you had a half a sack from Tillery and Ashton Gillott. And then, of course, you had those 3 interceptions, man. Azeez Al-Shaair missed him too. Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie. Tell you, bro, these Texas defense is for real. They are seriously for real. Kaimi Fairburn, I know, 100% on his. Harrison Butker missed one, but it wouldn't have made a difference even if he'd have made it. It just would have made a 7-point loss instead of a 10-point loss. The Texans scored in every quarter except for the third. They held the Chiefs scoreless in 3 out of the 4 quarters that they played them. That is fantastic. That tells you that they basically shut them down from an offensive standpoint. Chiefs had no hope. None at all. And I'm very happy. I am very, very happy that happened. This game, man, I know for a fact there is a Chargers fan that lives in my apartment building, and he's very, very close, as I heard him all night last night, y'all. Every single time. Yes, throw it again, Jalen. Throw it again. Boom, to the house. Like, he was celebrating. Whoever this person is, shout out to you, bro. But I heard you from a whole other apartment. You were having a blast with that, man. Jalen Hurts came out and had one of the worst games ever, man. And I started him. The funny thing is, so this is how my fantasy is set up. I'm going to tell y'all. Jalen Hurts and Justin Herbert. And they're playing each other. And I'm thinking, all right, man, I'll put Hurts in. He'll give me at least like, a couple hundred yards, a couple TDs, 1, 2, something like that. No, Jalen Hurts gave me 21 passes, 240 yards, and 4 damn interceptions. And he was sacked once to go along with it. Saquon Barkley, 20 carries, 122 yards, 1 TD. I mean, you can't be too mad at that. But Justin Herbert, 12-26, 5.3 yards per throw, 139 yards. That was very pedestrian number. He was sacked 7 damn times. So that tells me that the O-line for the Chargers is definitely a work in progress. But the Chargers are like the 49ers. Every year they get hit by the injury bug, and a lot of it, unfortunately, happens to be their O-line. So that's probably the crappiest part about it. But when you take a look at it, man, he was sacked 7 times. He was sacked. It's craziness. And then the only other the touchdown pass was caught by Omari Hampton. Looks like both teams scored in every single quarter, wound up going to OT. Neither team actually scored a touchdown. So, hey, the Chargers came through, got that kick, and that's how they won the game. When you take a look at the receiving, A.J. Brown, 6 catches, 100 yards. Nobody else really had anything crazy. He had several fumbles throughout the game. So this was definitely just a back and forth Monday nighter. That's basically what it was. When you take a look at it, the sack for the lone sack came from Odafe Owe. And then when you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hunt had 2.5 sacks. Zach Maun had a half sack. Byron Young had a sack and a half. Nakobe Dean a sack. Jordan Davis a sack and a half. So they were out there doing what they were doing, man. Adoree Jackson had that 1 interception. But the 4 interceptions from the Los Angeles Chargers, Cam Hart, Deshaun Hand, Dante Jackson, Tony Jefferson, all caught a pick. And everybody looked like they tried to get a couple of yards. Tony Jefferson and, everybody else didn't really do much. Only one that really got some yards was Cam Hart. But then you take a look at kicking. Jake Elliott, 4 or 5. This is why I tell you, got to be on point with your kicks. Make that kick. Game ends up in a tie. I'm just saying. Cameron Dicker, I know. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So definitely great things going on for the league. But now it's time to do what we always do. Let's take a look at the standings, and we'll take a look at the playoff picture, and I'm going to get up out of here. So, of course, New England's right there, 11-2. Buffalo right there, 9-4. So you got some viable moments there. I don't see the Jets or the Dolphins making the playoffs. I doubt that highly. Now, this is where the race gets a little bit tight. Pittsburgh won. They got that win over the Ravens, so that puts them at 1. But the Ravens are still right there. They're 6-7. They're only 1 game behind them. You know what I'm saying? The only issue for them is in division, they're 2-2, along with the fact that for the conference, they're 4-5. So everything bodes well for the Steelers to continue to keep their spot and do what they need to do. So Baltimore, you basically got to win out. You got to win out. You can't lose another game or you're screwed. Bengals, pretty much, they're going to wind up being eliminated. We all know the Cleveland ain't there. You got the AFC South, Jacksonville, and Houston. Those two are jockeying for position. Houston currently right now is 4-1 in division. That's a good thing. And then in the conference, they're 7-2. So they just need to win, keep winning, and they need the Jags to lose so they can start flipping things. But this is a 3-way race for the AFC South. And all three of these teams couldn't wind up in the playoffs. It's not outside the realm of possibility. The only team that's not going to make it, obviously, the Titans. And then in the AFC West, you got the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Chargers, 11-2 and 9-4. I think the Broncos have the AFC West wrapped up pretty much. I don't see them, winding up losing that spot. And I think the Chargers are doing very well. They'll keep going. But this is what makes me happy. Of course, the Raiders suck. And, I like the Niners, so I can't stand the Raiders either. And Kansas City just on the outside looking in. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Don't you agree? But in the NFC East, Eagles still leading. Even though they took the L, doesn't make a difference. They're still top of their division. And at 8-5, they have 2 people already eliminated from the playoffs, and the Commanders and the Giants. Dallas is definitely on the outside looking in for the playoffs. And when you come and you look at the NFC North, you got 3 teams here that could possibly make the playoffs. You got Green Bay Packers at 9-3-1. You got the Bears at 9-4. You got the Lions at 8-5. So you got possibly 3 teams coming out of there. And then here, this one, Atlanta and New Orleans are done. The only thing they can do is ruin your seeding whenever you play them. But Carolina, Tampa Bay, they're right there with each other, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's just basically anyone's game. Carolina and Tampa Bay are going to be fighting tooth and nail because only one of them is going to the playoffs out of this division. The other one will most likely wind up not making it. And then another thing you have here is a 3-team race in the NFC West. You got the Rams at 10-3. You got Seattle at 10-3. You got the 49ers at 9-4. You know what I'm saying? So we have the best division record, but it's just we don't have the win. So if we were at 10, technically speaking, we would be on top because we have the tiebreaker over the Rams. But this is a tight race. We could be trying to push to get people in there. But let's take a look at the playoff picture. And then once again, as stated, we'll get up out of here, man. So let's see what we got here. Okay, I don't want to look at all that. I just want to look at literally playoff picture. Usually it gives me something different where it just kind of tells me what I want to see. But this is what we're going to do. I'm going to hit the standings, and then I'm going to do it that way because that's where I get the playoff picture. So AFC right now, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are obviously the division leaders in the Broncos, Patriots, Jags, and the Steelers. Then you have the Chargers right there. You got Buffalo right there. You got Houston there. You got Indianapolis lurking. And then everybody else, I'm pretty sure, I can tell you right now, from 10 to 12, I doubt they're going to do much to wind up being better. But you do have Baltimore lurking. If Baltimore wins out, that's better for them. But if they lose another game, you can forget it. But right now, you still got the Colts. You got the Texans. We'll see what happens there. Buffalo has to keep winning. Otherwise, they're going to flip positions here. So it's a very tight race when it comes to this, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not very much. It kind of sucks the Steelers get it, but they're the leaders in their division, so it's not much that anybody can really do on that one. As you can see from the AFC, the Jets, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Titans are all eliminated from playoff contention. The only thing that they can do is ruin your playoff seeding if you do play them. Um, then you come along, you look at the NFC playoff picture. The Rams back on top. They are now at 10-3. Packers are right behind them at 9-3-1. The Eagles at 8-5, and the Bucks at 7-6. And then what's weird is this is always baffling to me, but it's the way that it's been forever. Seahawks 10-3. They're the 5th seed. 49ers moved up to the 6th seed because the Bears took an L. So now we're ahead of them. We're 8-2 in conference. They are 6-3 in conference. And then the Bears are the 7th spot. But lurking, you've got the Carolina Panthers. You've got the Detroit Lions. And the Panthers literally could jump up to number 4 just if they win their division. That's how high they could jump in their seeding. So it's very, very crazy. I mean, then you got Dallas, and everybody else. The teams in the NFC that are eliminated are the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Commanders, and the Giants. They can only screw up your playoff seeding. That is it. Minnesota's not going anywhere. I don't think Dallas makes the playoffs. I think 1 through 9 is where the fight will continue. But I don't think that Minnesota is going to go anywhere. I think they'll want to lose some games and then it's over. Dallas, they'll probably just fall flat on their face and make me and Stephen A. Smith happy. But those are the playoff pictures, man. Very, very tight races. And that's what it is. And we win tiebreaker over Chicago based on best win percentage in conference games. Obviously, 8-2, 6-3. There it is. You know what I'm saying? 4-1 in division, and they are 1-3 in division. So we just got to keep on pushing, keep doing what we're doing, and we've got a fighting chance to be able to actually make the playoffs and possibly make some noise. And I've said this before, the 49ers do have one good thing on their side. History dictates that anytime Kyle Shanahan goes into the playoffs, he does not stop anywhere. He does not stop until he gets to the NFC Championship game. That's a standard for him. That's what's happened ever since he's been into the playoffs. So let's hope that standard continues. The 49ers could literally have it to a point if they could luckily get into the number 1 spot where they could go in and play most of their games at home. And then the Super Bowl is in Levi's. So could you imagine that? 49ers took it forever. They got here. They win. I can tell you this. If we get to the Super Bowl and we take another L, you have no idea how I'm going to obliterate Kyle Shanahan. I'm going to destroy him. I don't care that we got there with a weak team, with this, with that, none of that. I will literally go nuclear because that is 3 Super Bowl losses as a head coach. Unacceptable. I do not need another Marv Levy on my hands. I don't. But hey, that was a Week 14 recap. Tell me what you think in the comments. Let me know, what you think is going on. And we'll be back with a couple of shorts. We'll make sure we get you your passing leaders, your receiving leaders, your rushing leaders. And we will definitely break down those beatdowns. Peace.